Perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX TV in San Francisco, and Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. At each commercial break, you can ask a sports trivia question. We're going to ask a sports trivia question, and today it's just various sports questions. In the next segment, we're going to have a special guest, our own local Dominican University basketball player, Natalie Diaz.
Sitting down even as we speak.
Just sat down. All right.
We're talking about radio, nobody can see what's going on, but we can tell
That's
you.
true.
Play by play.
That's why we had to kind of start off really slowly.
Yeah.
He's coming in the door now. All right.
Got a college basketball royalty here, man.
Oh, well, thank
A
you.
little intimidated.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
Wow.
it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's see. What else do we got here?
This station is brought to you by.
That's right.
There you go.
By
Don't
Pacific.
lose your train of thought.
That's right. But I know I keep doing that. Okay, this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding around 7.5%. I say around because sometimes 7.4, 7.7. You know. Secured by real estate with no losses. That doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Who was that you were just shaking hands with?
Oh, that was Dave Albee. He is the czar of Dominican University. As you fiddle with he's fiddling with my mic
I don't know why.
as we speak.
I'm not sure.
Can you say that on the air? I don't know. Oh, don't we? Is it check? What do? Am I among the living?
Okay, I got new mics, and that one was supposed to be working. What did you do to it?
I didn't touch it. I didn't touch. Is it the XLR?
Edward has to be an engineer on top of it.
Can you believe it? I know. I'm doing
Wow.
talk. I'm doing video here. Say wave to the camera. Everyone. It's crazy.
We are seated next to a business major, by the way. So
That's right.
it's apropos that she's on Sports Econ 101.
There you go.
All right, that works. All right. All right. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be right back. Okay, what is going on?
I didn't touch it, man. I didn't touch it.
I think it's Bruce's
Live
radio.
That happened before.
Yeah, but this one though is this one.
Well, yeah, you've had the same mic here.
It's hot. I can
Yeah.
hear that. I can hear that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hot.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Now I'm
All
among
right.
the living.
Everyone just kind of go like this.
Don't move, don't move,
Yeah.
don't
Don't
move.
touch it.
Edward
Natalie,
Brown, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Natalie.
Natalie.
Now what they call you Nats.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nat is usually
Nat,
how
there it
it's
is.
called,
All right,
yeah.
all right.
There it is. I'm slightly overmodulated here. So so how's that? Check 1, 2, 3,
Vern's
4.
like me. He has
This is an audio check.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So let me save the file here. That was just our little intro.
Strong weekend, by the way.
Oh,
What?
thank you.
35 and 14? 35 and 35 and 13.
I don't even keep track
Damn.
of the time.
Well, I mean,
you know.
you're in the flow of the offense. You're not like,
Check out the 3-point shooting percentage.
Mhm.
It's weird. I don't know.
You
I
don't
don't
have
know.
to qualify for a lead.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's what was his name? The guy from the SF Chronicle. He was asking me. He's like, "Why aren't you on all the lists?" I'm like,
You don't have enough.
I don't have
you
enough.
taps.
Right? Isn't it what, like 30 something?
I think you're
40?
like 24 for 41,
Something like
but it
that.
has to be like 1 per game. Or
So a certain amount of touches?
Yeah.
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 Right,
Something like
exactly.
So are you
that.
telling me that every time you score, you don't just kind of go like this, and so that's like 30, 32?
No. Teammates on the sidelines, they're the
Yeah,
ones
that's
doing
what
that.
There you go.
track.
It's more like that.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Before we get into her basketball,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind that. Why don't we talk a little bit about where you're from
No worries.
and how you got into the hoops and
Okay.
all that.
So the way,
Yeah.
if you could get, let's see.
Like
yeah,
right
real
here.
close, like that
Okay.
close.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right
there you
there.
go. And just
Try it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
and
Check.
don't when you look
If-
when you're talking to us, don't look at us. Just keep
Okay, keep it on the microphone.
keep on the mic. There you
So
go.
rude.
No, it's not rude.
Oh, she's done it before?
Yeah.
It's probably
It's
been
just what
one of those
happens.
powerful
I actually-
Dominican.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're dialing.
Yeah.
it up.
Sometimes people, they go like this. That's the only reason
You
why I
like-
have the headphones.
Yeah, okay, that makes
All right.
sense.
Dave, will you be taking pictures for
No,
social
I
media?
probably should take one for social
Yeah,
media.
you should. Yeah. Yeah, like right over there.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
not worried.
Don't
Sorry,
do
I'm
it.
not
Okay,
worried.
so you can do it on the-
Bruce.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we are streaming this live.
Oh.
There you go. Yeah. See a little camera.
Oh yeah.
We're hot. We're hot.
We're hot.
There you go.
So no swearing.
No.
I don't know who's watching, but somebody out there is. Some character.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
All right. Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan. And in the studio, we have our, can I say our very own, because you're local,
Yeah.
Dominican University basketball player, Natalie Diaz. Now, why do we have Natalie on?
Well, you know, I was reading an article in the Chronicle the other day about her exploits, and I had to say I was really excited because not only is she from our area here in Marin County, but I mean, she plays here for the University, for Dominican University, but she also comes from Santa Cruz, which is near and dear to my heart because that's surfing capital of Northern California.
It is that.
Anything to do with
Yeah.
surfing? That's
Yeah.
the man.
Yeah, and you went to SoCal High School?
I did.
So you started playing basketball, it must have been at a very early age. Your dad get you in it? Was he a jock?
No, actually, neither of my parents were jocks. They
Is
were
your brothers or something?
I have an older sister.
Yeah.
She used to play soccer, but no,
Mhm.
I was really the only basketball jock in the family. Started when I was in like second grade, probably 7 years old, just at a little girls' league, and
Dunking.
not so much.
Not so
But as I got into, I think it was fifth grade, I went to a more competitive AAU team, and from there, kind of just I had to choose between soccer and basketball, and I ended up choosing basketball, so that was a good choice for me. But
What was it about basketball that did it for you like nothing else would?
I think it's just the excitement of the game. As a kid, I had so much energy. So, I mean, my mom would put me in tap dancing, ballet, all that. That did not do it.
No.
Even soccer and softball wasn't enough. We would go from practice to practice every day. I'd do junior guard. So that was swimming and running, and then go to basketball practice. And that seemed to be the only thing that would get my energy
I
out.
can see soccer being, because of running back and forth.
Yeah.
But if you're not actually touching the ball each time,
no.
it's a little different. And by the way, I want to for the audience out there, when you said so-called, it's not SoCal like
No,
Southern California.
SoCal, isn't it?
SoCal.
SoCal.
Yeah,
Oh,
SoCal.
I stand corrected.
Everyone says
SoCal.
that. Everyone says SoCal, like SoCal, California. I'm like, no, it's just in
That's
Bay
good.
Area.
How big a school is that? It's about 1,200 kids?
Yeah, 1,200 kids,
Perfect.
very small.
Yeah, that's
I'm
nice.
just
Yeah.
tripping out a little bit because you've gone from handling the rock when you were second grade,
Yeah.
third grade, and
Handling the rock. I love
now,
That's a little
and
special.
I'm looking at you. You're like the Division II James Harden.
Yeah, she's
You know
averaging-
James
what
Harden,
is
the
she
Division II
averaging?
basketball
What is she
Thank-
averaging?
without the beard.
Thank you.
What is she averaging, Vernon? Something like.
What you asking?
What are you averaging? Anyway,
Dave is at like
26.4.
26.4.
26.4
Yeah.
points a
And
game.
by the way, when you said handling the rock, is that because you're so old they used to play with rocks?
Hey man, I was just trying to be cool. I call the basketball the rock. That's right.
Oh my goodness.
Good.
Well, interesting thing about Natalie too. Now she's going to Dominican College principally because
University.
I'm sorry, Dominican University.
But I used
I
to teach
should-
there, and when I taught, it was university.
Yeah, my mom was a graduate student there, believe it or not.
Oh,
So she got her teaching credential there. But it was kind of a fluky thing. I mean, you and your dad had been coming back, I guess, on some kind of trip to visit other schools, and you just dropped in to check it out. And how did that happen?
Yeah, so my dad and I were on an official trip to a different school, and I got a call from the
Oh,
coach.
you can say the school. Come on.
Sonoma.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
We had just gotten back from the official trip, and I got a call from Coach Tim. And my dad and I were kind of like, no, I don't really want to go. It seemed like small. I've never heard of it before. It wasn't really on my radar. But after that trip, my dad and I say, like, well, why don't we just stop by, take a look? So we ended up dropping in for a practice, met all the girls, got a little tour around the facilities and
Mhm.
everything. He invited me back for a official visit, so I took that a few weeks later, and I was sold.
I mean, it's a beautiful campus.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So Dominican is considered Division II.
Mhm.
Okay. So what possibilities were there for Division I?
I had a few, mostly just talking to them. They couldn't promise me a lot of minutes. They couldn't promise me. Some of them were walk-on, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. But for me, I wanted a team that I was going to get minutes on.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so a lot of the D2s around here had promised me, you'll play as a freshman, you'll play full games, this and that. And that was one thing Coach Tim and Coach Fanique really, they promised me a lot of minutes.
Sometimes it's better to be a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah,
right?
you know?
Do you have aspirations of going to the WNBA?
Not particularly at the moment. My aspirations lead more towards overseas basketball,
Oh.
just because this
That's
summer.
where the money is.
That's the money. And this
Yeah.
summer was the first time I was able to travel outside the U.S. So I went to Ireland, and since then I'm like, you know what? If I have the ability to go overseas, play the sport I love, possibly get paid for it, and be somewhere new, I think that is.
That's
an
interesting
amazing
that you
opportunity.
bring that up, though, and I want to relate to something because I had a friend of mine. He went with his wife over to Italy.
Mhm.
One of their friends had a couple of kids who were being recruited by some soccer pro team, in Italy, and the kid is 16 years old, and he's going to play in the minor leagues over there.
Oh, some of these guys
He
are
got a-
14. And
Yeah, he got a
yeah.
six-figure salary.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. So,
Yeah.
from the money standpoint,
Mhm.
since this is sports econ,
Yeah.
101, econ for economics, what would be the salary for United States versus overseas?
You know, it all depends because here in the United States, I've talked to a few friends. I've actually played this summer with a former WNBA player, and she said that if you're not the Diana Taurasi, Elena Deladon of the WNBA, you know, they don't really give you a second look. So for her, it was kind of the same thing. You know, she wanted to be able to play. She wanted that one-on-one time with coaches and trainers. So she wasn't really getting it here. But overseas, it's kind of like you can negotiate your salary along with they love having Americans over there. And I've had a few friends who played over there. A friend just got back from Spain. So they really look for Americans to be on the team and lead the team.
Well, plus how much fun would it be to live in a foreign
Oh my
country,
gosh.
speak the
Yeah.
language,
Oh,
get
so
into the
cool.
Israel
culture?
would be one place.
Honestly, anywhere. People keep asking, where do you want to play? Australia, Europe, anywhere that would offer, I would be happy to go to. So
Well, what a great way to see the world.
Right?
Yeah.
Doing what you love for a living, you know,
traveling.
and traveling
Yeah.
around.
You should do that for a couple of years, Natalie. I mean, I know that you're a very smart young gal who's got a lot of other things going in your life, but I mean, now is the time to do this.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't need to tell you.
No.
So what kind of what kind of income would you think it would be for?
So usually, depending on the contract, they'll pay for your flights out there. They'll pay for your living situation, a few meals a day, and then a salary with that. So
Well,
pretty
that's pretty
much,
good right off the
you're
bat.
making money
Yeah.
while saving it because you're not paying for all the amenities that come with
But
it.
have they told you what
No.
kind of salary?
It all depends on if you like, you know, your agent, your club. I have a friend who made, I think her last trip, she made like $1,200 a month, something like that, with everything paid for. So she was making a good amount of money here and there, but she was just happy to travel and
Just
do her
travel,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you have your meals and your living expenses
Yeah.
paid for, and your
Flights,
travel expenses paid for, I mean, you could just bank the rest.
Yeah.
You know.
And when you're a young
right out
person,
of college.
well, I was going to say, when you're a
Yeah.
young person, you're not attached. You don't have a
Exactly.
home, a mortgage, kids. You know, you
Right.
have plenty of time
Right.
for that. believe me.
Yeah.
Take your time with that.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
don't get involved with men. We're all pigs.
No.
I have a question about Coach Tim and how you kind of get discovered, you know, out of Santa Cruz. I don't know if we have time for that this segment.
Yeah.
Do we?
We got one.
Yeah, in this push button world, Nat, where you got, you know, YouTube and, you know, and Huddle and Max Preps and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how is it that your game, you know, was discovered and that you know got around? Because I imagine in today's game, I mean, unless you're Haley Jones,
Yeah.
I mean, they're that traveler 3,000 miles, you know, just to see a long shot.
No, definitely not. It was actually right when I moved to Palo Alto Midnight. We had a really, really good team. I wasn't expecting, you know, the caliber of the players that we got. We were a pretty small program, and so we were going up against the bigger programs like Cal Ballas, Cal Stars, all the ones that get all the traction from the college coaches.
These are the traveling teams.
These are the traveling teams.
Right.
So we were actually at a tournament, and I remember my mom had come up to me after the game, and she was looking because the Davis coach had been there and was watching. But she also saw another woman that was Coach Fanique Allen, and she said, "It's very weird. I was watching her, and she seemed to be looking at you the whole time." And so what Coach Neek tells me is that she came to the game, talked to Coach Tim. Tim came out. They both watched, and he called me I think within an hour after the game. But yeah, so Coach Neek, she told me that with all the other college coaches there, they were watching the other team. So she was pushing them, "Hey, look at that girl on the other team." But she was kind of like keeping me quiet, trying not to say anything.
Isn't that funny? Because I mean, all you're worried about is just, I mean, you're just out there, just playing.
Yeah.
You're just playing. Meanwhile, you're on the radar of all these programs. Yeah, you don't even know.
No,
How old are you now?
I'm 22.
Okay, so are you senior? You're a senior.
Senior,
Okay,
yeah.
very good. So is my daughter.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
cool.
All right. I love your demeanor too. By the way.
Thank you.
Okay, here's our first trivia question. We might as well start off with basketball.
Mhm.
And if you know the answer, don't say anything
Okay.
until we come back. All right. Who is the only coach to win both an NCAA and NBA championship?
Ooh, good one.
You like that one?
I got a good guess.
Ooh.
Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. See if you know this. Who
Gotta
is the
be
only
somebody-
coach to win both an NCAA and NBA championship?
Huh.
All right? Don't touch that dial. Sportsecon 101 will be right back.
I don't even know.
It's gotta be Larry Brown.
Yeah, gotta
That's
be.
my guess.
Well, I mean, yeah.
They always look at me and I try to do the poker face.
Yeah, you're all.
I don't think he won the NC2. I mean, he had teams in
He
the
did with
NC2
Kansas.
final. Did he win with Kansas?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. In
yeah.
1990.
Yeah.
Was it 1990? Yeah.
And then he, but I don't think he's won an NBA.
No, I don't think
He didn't with the Spurs when David Robinson was playing.
No,
No.
no. They didn't win a championship until Popovich came
So,
along.
Bob,
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
That was a good kiss.
and then I was at the Warriors game on Saturday, and they fell behind 15-0.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were down 18-3 after, what was it, 3.5 minutes of play.
Oh.
The
Fans
fans
are
were
good without. Maybe
What
they
the
don't
heck?
need Harden anymore.
Yeah. No, and Harden wasn't playing.
No.
Houston's got a good team.
But did you notice? Did you notice? Even when it was 15-0, Kerr didn't move.
Yeah.
He didn't call
Yeah,
the timeout.
No.
It was almost as if he just say, let's see how they
Well,
let's
well,
see how they
were
work their
down by
way out of
20,
it.
and they actually had the lead for a while. They got
Yeah.
back and were leading.
I just
what,
think I just think that what I got 19, 18 games left.
Yeah.
I just think we're in the zone where
Yeah.
they're just kind of
To have the game
They
like
don't
this.
get hurt.
let's just I have a
Absolutely.
feeling they're waiting until
Absolutely.
Well, that's what
late March, April, and
Jim
then
Barnett said, he goes, it looks like Kerr is just kind of let him play through it.
Yeah, let them play through it.
You
That's
can
right.
check out their record against the top teams in the East and the top teams in the West.
Yeah.
It's not very good.
No, they're going to have some trouble.
Yeah.
They're going to have some problems.
I interviewed Nelly on Thursday, and he said he said the gap is closing.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
that-
Well,
it's a
everybody's-
Copperhead league, and
everybody's
everybody's trying to
When you're champions like
adapt
that,
what they do.
we should talk to her about the getting in the zone though. That's a fun
Yeah.
thing. That,
I got several questions about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you've been in the zone
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, we're going to.
You always know because you're in the zone all the time.
Yeah, this guy is like a little man. He's like the Energizer bunny.
He's
He
always
just keeps
ready.
going.
Well, that's a radio guy, and I'm a TV guy.
I'd say I think they have me listed as 6 feet, but I'm not 6 feet. I know that for a
They
fact.
always
but-
give you a little extra.
Give me a little extra.
Hold on.
Also
Okay.
listen
Give you a little extra.
You're also listening to cigar.
Stand back to back here.
Okay.
Well, that's a
Oh,
photo
you're
op
right.
right there.
Yeah.
She's just
About equal.
We're
Yeah.
about equal.
Okay. I was just saying because I always say I'm 6 feet.
You said 6 feet. That sounds about
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But you're a guard though.
No, she's listed as a guard.
Really?
I'm not.
You're not.
I was promised I was going to be a guard, but 4 years later, here I am. I'm a
Oh,
post, but
okay.
that's okay.
But she
What do I
handles,
have you
she
on?
handles the ball well. In her guards.
Power forward?
Power forward. I guess I'd be power forward.
Yeah, but in the way, and we can get into it. I mean, you can play all 5 positions if you have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And probably have.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Trained as a point guard when I was in 5th grade. So,
Oh,
and then I sprouted.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
sprouted there, and here I am.
It is amazing
It's a
how
trade.
kids today are taught at such an early age how to play the game. When we were kids, we just went out
You
and
just played it.
Play.
played, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just put the automatically tallest
Yeah,
kid
yeah,
in the
yeah.
center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan, and our special guest, Natalie Diaz. Let's see. First trivia question was, who is the only coach to win both an NCAA and NBA championship? Anyone?
My knee-jerk reaction was Larry Brown.
Now, ordinarily, I like to go, but no, I get to go, ding, ding, ding. That is correct. So he won the 1988 title with Kansas and Detroit Pistons.
Detroit
in
Pistons.
2004.
Oh,
I always
there
think
you
of
go.
Chuck Daly, but then Brown moved around. He was
See,
a
when you think
basketball
about the
gypsy.
Detroit Pistons, you just think of the bad boy teams.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I mean,
then 04 just kind of slips in there.
Larry Brown was a different kind of a guy, though. He must have had about 12 jobs. He loved to move around. It's like Rick Barry. You know, Rick Barry, they called him the basketball gypsy. He played everywhere. So, restless soul. And Natalie's not restless. I know that. Well, she actually is. She's restless to continue her career.
Larry Brown, a New York kid,
Yeah.
played at North Carolina,
There you go.
for Dean Smith, and then evolved into the coaching
Philadelphia.
tree
Yeah.
out of there, but was known
Iverson.
pretty much in front of the camera. He was just kind of like this, but
Yeah.
but he was a yeller and a screamer in
Oh,
practice.
yeah. He
How
was-
about it, Nat? You played for yellers and screamers?
I have before when I was younger, but if you guys have ever seen a game at Dominican, Tim is very relatively quiet.
Mhm.
But I've played for the whole spectrum. I've had coaches cuss at me, scream at me, yell
Right.
at me, all that kind of stuff. I've had coaches who don't say anything. So I've had the whole spectrum.
How do you respond to that?
I kind of like to do my own thing. I kind of like to stay in my zone. So having somebody yelling, screaming at me isn't really the way I've always learned. I'd rather have somebody pull me off, talk to me. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how Tim does it.
Now, have you told those coaches that were yelling and screaming, say, hey, listen, I'll learn a lot better? No.
No, I was too young. I think I was 14 when I had
Right.
one who was screaming, but the other one who would yell and scream, I loved him. Oh my God, loved him so much.
You know,
He was
There you
For
go.
some
Great.
reason, this reminds me, when my son was playing T-ball,
Mhm.
right? I mean, first time playing baseball, so to speak, right, T-ball? And our coach was great, just really sweet with the kids and taught them. The other coach on some other team, I could not believe it. He's yelling and screaming at these 5-year-olds, right?
Mm,
And I looked at my wife and I said, yeah, there's no way I would let my kid play for that guy.
no way.
Yeah.
That's
Uh-uh.
kind of weird. You know what's kind of interesting? I'm noticing here on the press notes that Dave Albee gave us that the two of your top players that play alongside you, Vanessa Cruz, the
Mhm.
Hercules, and Angelica Collins, the Hollister, both from small towns like yourself,
Mhm.
even smaller. So in a lot of ways, sometimes the best athletes come from these places nobody hears about.
Absolutely.
Hollister, we live in the Bay Area. It's a little town south of San Jose, and Hercules is out kind of in the Delta region. So it's kind of neat. I mean, you're sort of, as you said, you felt comfortable. Small town, big fish, small town. So this is perfect fit, maybe.
Absolutely, I think so too. And I've been saying that because a lot of coaches go after the big name AU teams, the girls who go to the big private schools, and I always told my mom, I think if I had ended up going to a private school like Midi or something like that, maybe my path would have been different. But now that I look back, I don't think I would change it for anything. It taught me so much. It taught me a lot about teamwork because I had girls on my high school team who had never played basketball before, who would just come in. We needed bodies to play.
Yeah.
So it was almost like I had to, I had a lot of patience and I had to be like a coach and had to be able to work with people. So that's kind of led into my life today, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything.
Speaking of Midi, Archbishop Midi out of San Jose, Haley Jones, you know her?
Oh yeah.
Because you're regionally from the same area, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we were just talking about how you small town, you want a small program where you can be a big fit.
Mhm.
Haley Jones, the #1 sought after recruit in all of women's high school sports.
Yeah.
She's going to Stanford, and this is a woman that 1 week, Muffy McGrew is in her living room. Next week, it's Gina Oriyama in her living room. The next week, it's Tara Van. I mean, you're getting these in their living room trying to sell the program, and I'm just curious. You know Haley, just kind of what that dynamic is versus, I guess, the path you took.
Yeah, I think I'm 5 years older than her, so I never got the chance to play with her. But I worked with her brother for basketball camps, and I'd always seen videos of her, and I remember growing up hearing her name a lot, and people would say, oh, this girl's going to be a star. And now being older, I can watch a lot of her highlight tapes, and she's just incredible. She is unreal. She's so composed, such a good person, very modest. But yeah, her choice to go to that private school, I think that was obviously best for her. She got amazing looks as of, I don't even know, 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that. Another teammate of hers on Stanford, Hannah Jump, I actually played with her on my AAU team.
Is that Pinewood?
Pinewood, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was I believe a junior, she was in 8th grade playing on our AAU team. And this girl, I was blown away by the fact how composed she is. So their talent and their, how grown up they are already, it just speaks true.
Which leads me to my follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
In the way the game is played today,
Mhm.
coming up, you just can't specialize as point guard, shooting guard,
Mhm.
forward. It really doesn't matter what you're listed as because you have to have command of all 5 positions.
Oh,
and the 2 women that you just brought up, they can shoot. They got a mid-range jumper. They can go long.
Mhm.
They can dribble, drive, go inside,
Everything.
create their own shot,
Mhm.
much like you and your game.
Yeah.
Which and I believe that's kind of what the game demands,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's great if you could be a point guard, you can shoot and you play your role, but there's so much more to the game than that. You need to be able to do so many other things. I mean, I think that's why our team has been so successful. We've had a lot of our girls, been able to train. Vanessa has been training for 2 straight years now. And not only has she become an incredible point guard, she can also shoot, drive, everything, free throws. She's awesome. Same with Alana. We were joking about it the other day with our coach Neek. she was saying how freshman year, Alana never drove to the basket. She never wanted to be body contact, wanted to be hit, none of that. This year, if you watch her play, it's a completely different person. She can shoot, drive, rebound. It's unreal. So
You're talking about Alana Smith?
Alana Scott.
Alana Scott.
Yeah, on my team.
Alana Smith, who is from Australia. And that's another interesting thing. All these foreign players now coming here from Australia, from different parts of the world. So basketball truly has become, like soccer, a global sport. That's part of the attraction.
Alana Smith, just a couple days ago, she did this grown woman move. She did a jab step, drove baseline, dribbled, and went up, went glass strong. I was like, whoa! I had to put that in the highlights.
Yeah, no. Some people may not know who Alana Smith is. She's the star of Stanford, which is one of the top programs in the country. And Tara Vanderveer, the coach, has been there since, what is it, around 1990?
1985 was her first year at Stanford. Came over from Ohio State. And Jennifer Azzi, who's also lived in one of the great players of all time, former Naismith Player of the Year, was in her first recruiting class. And then just a few years later, they win the NCAA tournament in 1990.
Stanford, it's hard to say no to them.
Yeah,
because the education.
Of course.
Well, that's part of Dominican, I think. The attraction of Dominican, great school, great reputation. Now, granted, your average fan out there has not even ever heard of Dominican College, but we know here in the Bay Area that it is a terrific place. And again, your interests outside of basketball, it sounds like you've got your hands in a lot of different areas in terms of your future. You're thinking of getting into some area of the business world.
Yeah. As of now, I'm kind of focused on basketball, but in the future, I always told, my mom and other friends that I have that I've always wanted to own my own business. I think, it's funny, I was talking to Coach Tim about it, I think last year, about owning a beer garden. And it's always just been something that I love. We have one in Santa Cruz. It's called Beer 30, and I love going there. I feel good. You bring dogs, babies everywhere. It's just a very good atmosphere and a good vibe. And I think it would be something I'd be very good at, very talkative. And
how do you balance out school and basketball? Because how many hours a day do you have to practice?
We do, it's about 2. It depends on preseason or when we're in season. Right now, we're doing about 2 hours a day. So for me, I have an internship, I have all my classes, I have basketball. So it's all about, trying to stay as
regimented.
Yes, as possible. Because, sometimes you fall in a rut, but that's okay. Sometimes I really like the regiment. So for me, I have to plan.
Were you ever
of course.
were you ever a procrastinator, and then all of a sudden maybe this schedule that you've taken on has trained you into being having this regiment? You can't live day in and day out without it.
No, and I think I finally realized that probably my sophomore year of high school, college. As time went on, I was having more and more responsibilities, and time, like my practice schedule was getting longer, and everything was kind of getting mixed up. So, I finally pulled out that Google Calendar and kind of regiment my life, and here I am, and it's been working out great. So, yeah.
My wife keeps telling me I should do that.
You should.
I'm almost 67 years old. I'm finished. I'm done.
He still uses a sledgehammer and on the rocks.
So getting back to the game and your game, I'm curious whether it was a practice, a game, maybe your freshman year, or whatever. What was the aha moment where something happened, a sequence, a play, or whatever, where you said to yourself, "Well, you know what? I belong here."
It wasn't me, to be honest. It was actually Coach Fanique, again, going back to our assistant coach. My freshman year, I remember her telling me, she said, "You are going to be an All-American." I remember she told me that to my face. And I, as a little freshman, I had confidence in myself, but, I was so worried about messing up that I was kind of just like trying not to get inside my head. So she told me that every single day, pretty much for a whole year. And it wasn't really until the beginning of my junior year, I started training a lot in the summers. So it was a lot of lifting, conditioning, shooting, tons of that. And it became natural.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. She knew that she could trust you with that information. It wasn't going to get your head to where it's like, okay, well, then I don't need to practice.
No. It was more like, no, now here I am having to live up to that. And I respect her so much. So that was like a big, no one had ever told me that before.
And based on the rules, are there any Division I teams that are allowed to even knock on your door?
I don't know about that one.
I'm not sure what the rules are.
I think once Dominican University has their fingerprints on her, then it's hands up. You just can't tamper and just start poaching
You know, it's kind
coaching
of neat
play.
though.
It just doesn't work that way.
Relating to
Hey,
what
wait,
you,
hold on,
okay,
before
I
we
got a
get to
good
that,
follow up on this
okay.
one though. I got to
Quick
ask
commercial
about
break
this.
trivia question here.
Sure.
Talk the NHL.
No.
What is the NHL trophy name given to the league's player with the most points? All right, stay with us.
Should know
Sports
that.
Econ 101. We'll be right back.
I went to
Unless
hockey
you're like
school,
me, you know
University
nothing
of
about
Denver.
hockey.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I
so
never
you're-
followed. I grew up here, so I never followed hockey.
No,
You're just a
no,
hockey
that's-
fanatic. Yeah. Yeah, the Sharks are playing so well. Oh man, even though they got shut out the other night.
They did?
Yeah.
First,
They should, first
Yeah,
they shut out.
yeah, but they came right back and
Okay,
won
see the smoke
yesterday.
coming
They
out.
Did they
beat-
win
He's
yesterday?
thinking,
Yeah,
he's
they
thinking.
beat Detroit on a hat trick by Pavelski.
Oh, jeez. They're just amazing. I wish I could get down there and cover a few of those games. It's just such a hassle driving
Yeah,
to South Bay. I mean,
San
getting
Jose.
you have to
They
leave
do
at 2
things
o'clock in the
with sports.
afternoon.
Yeah, but you know what?
Look at you, man.
Such a
Holy
pain.
smokes.
But you know what? You know, it's the kind of sport, and Sharks have the kind of following where
Scores.
they kind of have their own. They have their own fan base.
Well, it's
They-
like a
I mean,
cult
they're
here
they're
in
getting
the Bay Area.
they're getting their 17,
Yeah.
18,000 a game.
Yeah.
I mean they're fine.
Yeah.
And I think you know, Scott Emmert and the rest of those guys down there, I think, you know, they get it. They're not going to see us around until it's close to playoff time.
You know what's nice is that I asked them, so can I come down and do my updates? Oh, make room. And I thought to myself, I know what their press box is like. It's tiny.
Well, they
You
have.
know?
Well, I mean, it's to the point now where they have us.
It's not a very good spot.
Yeah,
Never
they
has
have us
been.
on like the 5th level
Yeah.
of SAP Center.
Oh yeah, you're up there. You're looking
I mean,
through
you're
bars and
enjoying the
everything.
rats.
We heard her time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Not like mine. I got all time.
All the time in the world.
We figure with all those millions
But
of
I
people,
wanted to
you know,
follow up with
no wonder
this.
San Jose's got the only
Yeah,
hockey team
yeah,
around.
yeah.
Okay, ready? There we go.
Okay.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn, Bruce McGowan, and our special guest, Natalie Diaz. Second trivia question. What is the NHL trophy name given to the league's player with the most points?
Yeah, I should know that one because I'm a hockey fan, but I'm not a fanatic, and I don't think Vernon is either.
It's called the Art Ross Trophy.
yeah.
Oh, I would never.
What they got now?
I
I've heard of
had
it.
to throw a hard one here. You got the Larry Brown one. I had to throw a hard
Well,
one.
so somehow I there's pieces of like insignificant that are in my brain that just
Okay,
kind of
what
come
color
to
is
the
the
surface.
puck?
Orange.
Oh, man. Okay,
Hey, you know
you're,
something?
you're
If we-
1 for 3.
If we lived in Michigan or
Yeah.
New England, we'd be talking about hockey, coming out your ears.
Well, let's segue back to the college game
Yeah.
because I know time's running down on the time that we have with Nat. So the Penguins attack. Are you guys half court? Do you run? Is it up tempo? What's the style for what's the scouting for saying?
I would say it's really up tempo. So we're all about, pushing the ball. A lot of times, Coach Tim will talk about, how we play on defense kind of leads to our offense. So if we're getting steals on defense, that's going to push our offense into scoring,
Gotcha.
Shooting. So for us, it kind of depends on the team that we're playing. There's a lot of teams that we know we can speed up and kind of get out of their rhythm. So if we can do that, we'll go into our full court press or our half court press. Other teams, we know we kind of have to pack the paint, focus on defense inside. And so it kind of all depends on our scouting report for the day, for the game.
So for an opponent with the scouting report, they probably want to slow it down.
Yeah.
And try and one of those get ahead, stay ahead, get back on
Absolutely.
defense type things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're constantly looking at film?
Yeah, so we haven't as much this year, but we have our own personal accounts that we can go watch our film on. So a lot of the time, there's a lot of teams, they'll pull the ball back, set their offense, call a play, run that. So if we do, sometimes we'll run a half court press. That way it's kind of, it's not tiring us out running full court, but we can do a half court, trap in the corners, trying to get steals. If they're lobbing it across the key, we'll be there. So it's always good. It all really depends on, who we're playing. If we can scout players who are a little nervous or a little scared of the ball, that way we'll pressure them and speed them up.
I got to ask you a follow-up question to what you're talking about, because watching the other night, I was covering the Warrior game, and Steph Curry gets into one of his modes where he's hitting everything. And he has this kind of sort of serene personality. And I think the great athletes seem to have that. You get charged up inside, but at the same time, the game slows down. I remember hearing a story about Jerry West sometimes said he was in that all the time. Is that happen to you when you get into one of those modes where it's not like, you're not aware of what's going on around you, but you're so focused and so relaxed and so confident that it just seems to kind of flow?
Yeah, it always, I say when it feels natural, that's when I know I'm playing my best. Because if there's ever a time I'm stressed or, I'm speeding the ball or I'm committing a lot of turnovers, that's when I know I'm like, okay, you got to stay out of your head, get back to what you know. A lot of time people in the stands or my friends will be, did you hear me screaming at you? I'm like, I can't hear you.
Right.
I couldn't hear a thing.
No.
I have the blinders on. I don't listen to anybody. Once in a while I hear a coach talking or yelling at me, but for the most part, it's, I'm in the zone, I'm in the play. Even if there's a mistake made, I kind of let that go and get back to what I know.
Because I can see even, especially at the free throw line where it's nice and quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times that's what it is, just in the head.
Yeah.
In the head.
Well, I was going to relate to that. I do a lot of surfing, and the most relaxed I am is when I'm on the wave.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. And I think that's true of an athlete in any sport. When they're doing what they like and they're doing it well, it's almost like you're in a different state of consciousness.
Yeah, it's a different state of mind. It's what you love and it's what you do, and it just feels so natural and it feels really good. And so I haven't really been able to have that piece until I would say last year and this year, because freshman, sophomore year I was worried about not turning the ball over and not making a mistake. But now I've had the luxury of being able to take a step back and take a breath and kind of realize that if you make a mistake, it is what it is. Get it back.
So the game has slowed down for you a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you been so hot where at timeout, Coach Tim just kind of grabs his clipboard and just throws it down, just keep feeding that. I mean, she's just feeling it. Just give it to her.
Not yet. He can't. I mean, that's pretty much game plan every game. He kind of says, we are a team that plays inside out.
Mm-hmm.
So if we stray away from that, if we're not looking inside, even if there's teams who will double and triple team me, it's not about me, getting the ball and jacking up a shot and hoping it goes in. It's more about, me getting the ball. People dive in to help off. If I kick it out, there's a shooter open. So either way, I mean, going inside out has always been our game plan. So it's helpful for me when I have teammates who can knock down those shots. And that's what many of them have been doing this year. And it's been so helpful and wonderful to see them step up and be so successful. And it also helps me because I don't feel like everything is on my shoulders. I have complete 100% trust in all my teammates.
I got to bring up a stat here. Your record, the team's record was 33-101. That's 33 wins and 101 losses before your coach arrived, before this new regime took over. Since he took over, 85-52. So it sounds like you've created a pretty nice comfort zone.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. And I think it also leads to Coach Tim as he keeps everything so simple. And that was something that attracted me to this team in the first place. I never was about, all the plays and run. As he says, it makes us into robots. So for us, it was more, play your game, run, score. What do we want to do? Go inside out. He asks us the same 5 questions every day. And so we it's kind of created it's just a flow. So we don't have to think about this play, this is where I go, it's more of us just playing basketball.
Well, given the record, but complete culture change in that one.
Yes.
What is the one thing Coach Tim has demanded? What's the common denominator that essentially evolved in having you guys flip the switch like that and be on the role that you're on?
I think it's just, playing your role and knowing your role. And I think a lot of us, he's been able to capitalize on all of us doing that. So it's really not just me. Each player kind of has been told what is expected of them. So we all know what we're doing and we all know where we're supposed to go, how we're supposed to do it. And I think having that clarification has been really good. And then the simplicity of the game, that's always been my thing. So Tim keeps everything so simple.
How about when you're up against it though? Those moments and whether it's college, pro, they've all run into it. Warriors to a degree are going through it right now.
Yeah.
Those games where you're flat, not feeling it. Coach Tim saying in his mind, "Boy, man, I really got to work today." But where you just know early on that it's just not flowing for you. You got to get it back.
Yeah. We've had a couple of those games this season, and there's been, we've had injuries here and there. We've had a bunch of bumps in the road, but, it's all about staying focused in the moment. And Coach Tim, he's able to make adjustments. Same, he has his right-hand woman on the sideline who sees everything. So she's always given him some feedback as well. And I think they're able to, change what they need to change on whenever we're playing, and they can kind of gauge how we're feeling and how we're doing in the other team. So for the most part, they've been really proactive when watching our games. And
yeah, I could see where, making the game quote somewhat simple because the robot situation you're talking, because the thing is you can't control the other team.
No.
The opponents might not react exactly the way you're expecting.
Exactly.
Them,
No, they're going through the same thing that you are. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
and being in the zone, when I used to bowl, I was semi-professional, so I understand that zone.
Yeah.
Now it's like mini golf.
Yeah.
I'm in the zone.
Yeah, you're
in the zone every day.
I got a couple of follow-ups. Whether you're, let's just say you're running a camp. I'm sure you've run some camps with some young kids, CYO kids, what is your best advice to maybe the young listeners out there that want to go out and launch shots however many times what is your best advice to them?
If you want to be the best and you want to be good at something, you need to practice over and over and over.
How many shots a day
oh my gosh, when I was younger, we were always told, at least get 100 free throws up, get at least like 200 to 300 threes up, and then work on layups, jumpers, all that kind of stuff in between. So for me, I wish I had somebody who told me as a younger player, get in the gym, train.
So what, speaking of free throws, do you know what your free throw percentage is?
She's playing, man.
Okay. See, I like the fact that she's not into the statistics.
Yeah.
That's so often.
That's why I asked if I knew that.
He knows.
See, I mean, it just comes naturally. You don't worry about that stuff. It's kind of like a lot of things in life. You do what you're supposed to do, and things will happen.
Yeah.
Or they won't.
It's fine.
At the CYO and maybe high school level for women's basketball, it might sound like a strange question. Has Steph Curry changed the game? The way he plays?
Oh, at 110%. I've been coaching little kids since I was in high school, and working camps, and you see as each year as I go back to coach these kids, more and more of them are just jacking up threes. Obviously, it makes me a little bit upset because nobody really focuses on like the intricacies of the game. That's why I was talking to Dave the other day. We're talking about Tim Duncan and how I love Tim Duncan. I've always loved Tim Duncan. So modest, so basic. Everything is so simple. But when I'm coaching these little kids, it's all about shooting threes now. And so it's kind of like you have to show them that it's fun and it's cool, but not everybody can be a Curry. Not everyone's going to make every three they
just
shoot.
Wait till they change it to have a 4-point it's another 5 feet back.
But I will say this in the women that we have referenced in this interview, and for the listeners out there in the great Northwest, I am acutely aware of what Sabrina Ionescu is doing in Oregon, another Bay Area product.
That's right.
But they have the complete game. They drive, they penetrate. They can jack up shots, but they're able to have, I guess, the complete game, so to speak.
Well, that's like the Warriors.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks the Warriors are a 3-point shooting team. They are, but compared to most teams, they actually take fewer 3-point shots.
Yeah, they haven't been the best 3-point shooting team in a while.
No, I think it's Houston.
Well, not just best, but how many?
How many they jack? Houston jacks up a lot.
Harden by himself.
Yeah.
The other night without Harden, I think they took 40 without him.
Oh,
that was insane. But they still, they beat the Warriors, so that's pretty good. And they beat them 3 times this year.
Yeah, Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker did very well at 3-point line.
And 19-year-old Marvin Bagley III. I mean, that's the thing about. See, Alana is an old veteran. She's 22 years old, so she can school some of these younger players.
Absolutely.
There you go.
But I could say that she's got a nice demeanor about her. She's, did
well,
you make the freshmen carry all your gear and all that?
No, none of that. We only have one freshman too, so she knows her role. But
there you go.
She knows her role.
Stay in your lane, sis. Stay in your lane.
She knows.
When you were a kid jacking up shots, who was your favorite player?
Oh my gosh, favorite player. I think it wasn't even when I was a kid, probably a teenager, was like Damian Lillard. I really like Damian Lillard. He's awesome. So still one of the greats.
He is.
All right.
And he's a Bay Area guy from Oakland.
Yeah.
That's
He is.
He walked from his home to his own tryout with the Warriors.
Is that right?
Yeah, he did.
You would have covered that story probably.
Yeah.
How close do you live? A couple miles?
He's it's West Oakland, so I mean, he just walked over from his house to the Warriors headquarters, went for a tryout. But unfortunately for him, it was a numbers game. I mean, Warriors have too many guards.
Gotcha. Natalie Diaz from Dominican University, basketball player. Thank you very much for joining us at Sports Econ 101. I know you have a lot of other things to do.
And we'll get her back on here maybe in about a year if she's not
Yeah.
over
Yeah,
let me
overseas.
know.
Now you're getting ready for the conference tournament, right?
Yeah, next week. What is it, the 7th through the 9th, something like that?
Yeah,
So yeah, no,
exciting.
we're so excited.
Well,
for
thank
that.
you for blessing us with your
Of
presence.
course.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
for
been
having me.
All right, we're going to cut to our last trivia question here. How many winning seasons did the Philadelphia Phillies have from 1918 to 1949? Bruce, that's your years.
Oh yeah. Well, that's my dad was a big fan of those years, so you know.
What was the question again?
Okay, how many winning seasons did the Philadelphia Phillies have from 1918 to 1949? So you're talking about 31, 32 years,
Wow.
including.
I can tell you, I'm pretty sure.
Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be right back with some closing comments.
Oh,
Zero.
Really, thank you so much for joining
Of
us.
course, thank you for having me.
Zero.
Yeah, it was zero. Big fat zero. Yeah. Different world in those days. The good teams stayed good, the bad teams stayed bad.
Gotta have the group selfie shot, man.
Yay.
Get on in here,
All right, hold on.
All right.
Edward. There's
There's-
perfect. Oh, perfect. Here, let's get away from the window.
Okay, hold on.
There we go. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
Nice.
Get,
Well.
get the
The
glare
shine.
off, like, shine off. Yeah.
The shine, the glow.
All right, Nat, one more, Nat. You and me. 1, 2, and 3. Nice.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah,
I know
we just
your time was
we
very
might have
limited. I
to
really
channel
appreciate you
5
staying all
cameras
this
on
time.
Of course. No, I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
appreciate
I
it.
think-
Thank you for
I think
having
you and
me.
Scott-
When's the next game?
Science and I have been
being
talking.
played
Did
after
you just
the
get back
We-
from spring training?
It's not going to be till the tournament. So senior night was on Saturday.
Dennis went.
And then
Dennis
we leave
went.
Wednesday
And,
for,
Brian
as you
went
said.
down.
But no,
So
well,
then
he
when
was
we come back,
arranging all
it's the
the.
tournament.
When you guys
shows.
He's
do
an
travel,
addict.
do you like do it like 2 or 3 vans, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
It depends. So
Yeah.
we'll fly down to
today,
Azusa,
because
we-
so we'll
Okay.
do a plane, but for the
we had a
most part,
couple
like when we go to
communications, and he said
Fresno,
he'd
we've
circle back to me.
gotten a big
Because
old
you guys
bus
are doing like
before.
an
Sometimes we
international
have
show
bands at
after.
school.
Yeah, we got a
Yeah,
bunch. We got a
it's
bunch.
fun.
We have
I'll pack all your
5 or
teammates
6
in
of
and
them.
go.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like-
This is
yeah.
the first
Once
time.
turned
I was gonna say,
That's how
because
the
Dominican-
NCAA
Who are
March Madness
we
comes
didn't
to
talk
mind,
about
because
this.
they've
Who are your
never
main
had- they've
opponents
never
besides
hosted
Sonoma
tournament
State
before.
and?
They're actually in a different.
Sonoma State's in a
Yeah, they're
tournament?
different. Them and
They're in the
Chico
country
are in their
scoring
own.
right
We
now.
Yeah, we
have
yeah.
Yeah.
this
Oh,
is
yeah.
Pacific, so that's
Okay.
they're number 1 right
They're
now.
down in Southern California.
Down in
Okay.
Southern,
The leading scorer
and
among,
then we have
I think
HBU
all
is another
scores
big
in the
one.
Bay Area, men or women.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Humboldt State doesn't have a program. does it?
Humboldt State, yeah, they're
Okay,
doing
but they're in
their-
a- they're in a different.
Yeah,
Azusa
yeah.
Pacific?
They might be with Chico or.
They say Azusa Pacific
Right,
is
sorry,
Saturday.
Mike,
They-
was working in
I
TV.
don't think it's
back
gonna be
in
fun. They're gonna wind up probably
They're-
number 2 seed. Azusa
That was
Pacific's
just
gonna be number 1
before the
seed.
Are they that good?
Dominican isn't.
you know,
Azusa's
Title IX.
good.
Yeah.
It's funny,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just starting. I mean, there were more like,
Earlier
it
this
was
year. They
almost
play
like a
them
club
on Saturday.
Yeah,
down
yeah,
there.
yeah.
You really had to
The
be
1 or 2 seeds.
hardcore.
Because when my son was looking at colleges,
I've forgotten
Have
now.
you been
That's
down there?
been 4
yeah,
years.
It's a
the
nice
the
school.
basketball.
Early
Yeah.
athletes who were
I
playing
think
in
the rest of
the
school was
sports,
like,
you know,
Yeah,
they didn't get a whole lot of
exactly, yeah.
support.
Yeah.
We just built a
Right.
marina.
Yeah.
I must
Yeah.
7 or 8 years ago. Because I went down there for
Yeah.
the Dominican men went down there and they had a tournament down there. They went down to the facility. Azusa Pacific's facility. It was
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, we were just
Yeah.
talking about my son when we were looking at, like, we look at UC Irvine,
Yeah.
Azusa Pacific, and Chapman,
Yeah.
which he ended up going to. But it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, but Azusa, though, it's like, we look at the campus, it's nothing but a basketball court. You go,
Yeah.
this is beautiful.
What part of LA is it in?
It's
It's like about Pasadena.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah,
nice,
something
nice.
like
That's why we were able to cover all three in one
Really
day.
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, UC Irvine was a little too big.
Yeah.
Chapman was beautiful.
Yeah, we looked at Irvine too, and I loved it, but I was kind of like, I don't know, something's it's.
Yeah,
It
you
was,
wanna be in a
and
small
I couldn't
school.
believe how big it was.
This guy went to,
My
you went
oldest
to the
kid goes
University of
to
Virginia, right?
Redlands.
Redlands, yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school? You went to Virginia, right?
Oh, UVA.
Yeah, that's a big,
That's a big
what,
school.
30,000, 40,000?
It's big. It's,
Yeah. He's still
it's the
bitter about
biggest
the
state
tournament
school.
last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
God.
they're ranked number 2, aren't they, right now?
Yeah, they were ranked number
2,
1.
3, yeah.
See, I
Yeah, but they were number 1 when they
Oh,
lost
yeah, it
to
was like, we didn't
Maryland,
have a test
Baltimore
team.
County.
I mean, you know, there's no camp. I mean, there's only campus. It's just a big brick wall, you know,
Yeah.
brick building.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But this time it'll be different. They're gonna
That's right.
they're gonna be a number 1 seed somewhere. I don't know what region, but they'll be a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
They'll be a number 1 seed. Duke will be 1.
Gonzaga, maybe?
Gonzaga number 1 in the West.
Gonzaga will be wind up going to San Jose,
Right.
right?
For your telecast, you should
And
put your
then,
hat on that you have in your.
I don't know who will be the other number 1.
I just hope that Zion Williamson's able to come back this
Oh,
year.
that was
That's-
crazy.
Yeah, that
Was it
was.
Duke, North Carolina?
He's out. They're supposed to play Virginia Tech. He's out
Yeah,
tonight.
they're going to be careful with him. He's at 280 pounds.
Did he tear it or was
No,
it
just
it
a
was
sprain.
sprain?
That's
Okay.
bad.
It's a
Yeah.
grade 1 sprain.
Yeah, that's serious.
But when I
Dangerous.
was at Oracle on Thursday, Jason Collins, all the people I talked to said, "Oh, he should just shut it
Yeah,
down."
he should.
Yeah.
He should.
Because that's
Well, he has size too.
well, it's not that. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Just leaving
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with
at
that.
risk.
Shoe just
Yeah, that's scary.
If I was
Made Nike look bad.
This is what I tell Nike to stay with.
That's,
I think that's a great thing to show what, the low point of the Nike
Yeah.
career, and
Yeah.
what he's going to become.
I wonder though if he blew out of his shoe.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's okay.
but how many people are 6'8",
That-
280 pounds? You
Yeah.
have so much
What size
force.
shoe?
So he makes his own
Shoes.
shoe, they promote it.
12.
Yeah, see, that's
I
the
did the
thing.
show that night. I said blew out of his shoe like Bruce Banner turned into the Hulk. Man, he can't get out of it.
That's true.
Yeah,
I've never
that's
seen
what it
it.
looked like.
I mean, I'm listening to ESPN. I'm watching the ESPN. The guy says, "I've never seen this before," and I'm thinking, "Yeah,
I've never seen it before either.
Yeah, I know. I like it.
Well, Dave, we only have 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
since you're here, you might as well.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just.
no worries.
It's just puppy up.
All right.
You guys want to back on again?
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan, Vern Glenn, and our special guest, Natalie, was able to stay for the last 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Oh, by the way, number 24, right?
Yeah.
Why
I love
24?
I was
Rick Barry?
Willie
very.
Mays.
I was 20 in high school. When I came here, they didn't have a 20, so I said 24 was good. But my coach, who was it? She told me last week, she was like, 24 could be too good for you. And I had never heard that before. I was like, okay, I'm going to tell people that from now on.
Right.
That's why I chose it.
24 is the best number. Willie
That
Mays and Rick
is.
Barry. That's all you have.
When-
And
when
Rick
we were
Barry chose
kids-
his because Willie Mays was his.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, all the baseball players,
Yeah.
we always picked number 24 if
Yeah.
we could.
When you hit a 3-pointer, and by the way, we should mention number 3 scorer in the country right now as we speak. Yeah.
Yes.
And at one point in January, you were the number 1 scorer in the nation.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
when you hit a 3, would the announcer say ND for 3?
And that's a good, I never heard that one before, but I hope so.
Hey,
I'll have to let them know.
That's right.
I like that.
That's good.
Good deal.
ND, I like that. They're very good. Okay. Well, Natalie Diaz, ND, thank you very much for joining us yet
Hey, don't
again.
forget the trivia question.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
Yeah.
How many winning seasons did the Philadelphia Phillies have from 1918 to 1949?
0.
One.
One? Oh,
I don't know what
one.
year. I forgot to write
Must
that
have been in the
down.
40s. Must have been in the 40s during the war when half the players were, in the service.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our thoughts for the day. There are 2 primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist, or accept the responsibility for changing them. I always come up with these poetic ones for Bruce. He likes them.
Yeah, I like it,
And
yeah.
good friends are like stars. You don't always see them, but you know they're there.
Yeah, that's
And with that,
another
we
good
beat.
Sweet.
Sweet topics. Yeah, I had to do that. 'Cause
one.
we don't have too many women on. So we have
Yeah.
Tara Vanderveer on one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but no, she wasn't in the studio. We had her on the phone.
Mm.
That was good. All right. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
Good,
And that's a wrap.
Good show. Good show.
And that is the show.
Yeah.
Thank
show.
you
Really
so
nice
much.
meeting you.
Really nice
Good
meeting
luck.
you.
Yeah, continued
Thank
success,
you.
young lady.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dave, Dave, thank you.
Sure.
Really appreciate it.
So if you want to listen to
Yeah, you got
How boys doing? Sports Byline.
They're great.
Puts all the
Yeah,
show
they're great.
together.
Yeah,
It's,
we
Saturday
got,
at 1
got the
p.m.
oldest, he's
Otherwise,
about
I'll have it
halfway
on
home
Sports
at
Econ 101.
Redlands.
Yeah.
And
Go to the website.
women's,
Okay.
You can do it now. If you're in all of them.
Oh,
You
I
could
got,
probably
I
access
got
it.
a
Right
senior
now.
And if I
Yeah.
wanted
at
to,
10.
Probably could.
you know what?
So,
Let me get a
he's
picture
22?
of you so that I can
No,
know.
he's
I always
he's
like
mock
to add that to
trial.
the,
He plays some baseball in the spring, but
Yeah.
he's more
Come on.
academic.
Yeah.
So
All
we're
right.
so
Any
we're waiting,
smiles?
we're waiting to hear from all the
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
UC schools.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you grew up with this stuff. I'm still.
I know.
I'm still living in
Even
the
then,
same
I'm thinking about it.
Got into
I
that,
see kids who
really.
are like 8 or
So
9 with
the heat's
iPhones.
off
And
there.
Yeah.
I'm
And,
a little older dad. I got a
And then I have a
14-year-old.
freshman,
She's a-
Sam,
Holy
and he's
shit, I'm not
he's a
taking any
swimmer.
away from it.
Yeah.
But
So,
she's on this thing,
Yep.
3 or 4
Yeah,
hours.
we,
So bad.
a lot of road
I
to
sound
hoe.
so weird because
I
I'm
was
22,
talking
but I'm
to
like, when I
Tony
was a
Nicole
kid,
the other
I was
day, and we were-
outside every day,
Yeah.
hours a day,
Yeah.
playing in the dirt.
But you know something
have to
that
work till
you're different. I'm not saying these kids don't need the outdoor
Yeah,
activity.
yeah,
They do.
another
yeah.
what?
You-
13 years.
I've been
probably
in
great.
two,
And
possibly
your dad,
three.
Yeah.
your
My
mom,
youngest
probably
gets
knew
out
you
Oh,
needed to
to
do it.
graduate school.
So they
He's
got
going
you
to
in there.
Dominican.
Yep.
Mhm.
Did you
Gets
say
out,
I
gets his
grew up with
master's
this?
degree. He's gonna,
Thank you very much. I didn't know that.
I can go, but I may stay another year.
Listen,
I was telling Edward, I can't
Hell
even talk
yeah.
to my boss anymore. He won't.
Man.
I have to do email.
You have to
I can't even talk to
Yeah,
treating you good?
people don't
I've never-
want
I've
that.
never-
PBIX
I've
is treating you
never
good?
had that
Yeah,
kind
they
of situation.
leave me alone. Let me do
But I've
my
been working
thing.
at broadcast.
I'm still
You
used to
know,
two
the,
tin cans and a string.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have
Uh,
no complaints.
There wasn't any of this
Stuff.
stuff.
You want, I'll send
We
that.
got-
Send
we
stuff
didn't have
to
calculators.
Brian. I need to
A
update
hand
him.
calculator.
Yeah.
You went until I was a freshman in high
Because
school.
Yeah,
it's
it's
really easier.
either going to be him or me.
This is going to be antique in
One of the-
about
one-
20 years.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
I did
They're
that
gonna have
today.
something crazy.
My
Something
he
new.
has
I don't know.
Yeah.
he has a reporting day that
But we need
does
people
on
like you in it to
Tuesdays.
kind of keep us out of
My
trouble.
reporting day is
Yeah.
on Wednesday
Oh,
and
thank
Thursday.
You got it.
But it's either going to be him or me
Okay.
doing it.
Do you
Oh,
not,
you're
do I
putting
have
it
the
up
right
there.
email
See,
address,
so
like the
that's
Gmail
the,
address for you?
Vernglen at Gmail.
Yeah.
That's the one I check 100% of the
Okay.
time.
The tech.
The JD
I thought
man at
Yeah.
CBS.
No, but this
They run
is.
through
I check
people
it a
like
few
potato
times a week,
chips.
and I don't really
They don't
rely
That's
give
when
a
on
I
it.
can do
and
when I
the
sent
kids
this one
that get into
it.
for this year.
They don't care.
And then I text
Move on.
Yeah.
But there's no community.
No.
It's just, it's a constant
Who did that
flow.
shit? I haven't seen that.
And I just-
Oh yeah, oh these came out.
That's such a
Who put
Oh my
I don't
goodness,
think it is at all.
these came out a couple
Yeah,
years
you got a
ago.
good
Something like
perspective.
that. Yeah,
Thank you.
I think a lot of times,
I love it.
Yeah.
I
the
love
thing,
it.
great thing about sports is
It's
it
a good
allows you to
conversation
clear all that nonsense out of your head and
Somebody must have done
focus
that.
on one thing.
I know. I always think about that. Like, if I didn't have sports or I didn't
player put it out.
grow up doing
the
that,
idea.
what would I be doing now?
Some
But
of
I'm
it
so happy
came
I
out,
have
and
it.
Yeah, it's good.
I first saw
That's what
it.
the main reason I'm
Shaq held it
you know,
up
doing
Oh, yeah?
during
sports and radio and
TNT
TV for some years
show.
because
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
even though I wasn't
man,
a great
gotta get
athlete,
that.
I loved being around there.
Yeah.
And to me, it made
I missed
sense.
that.
You know, I grew up in the '60s when everything was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, glad you guys, we got her here. She's
Yeah.
doing really
Fell
well.
off the map, so it's like, you know, this makes sense.
So do you know Brad Van Alsten?
Yeah.
Okay, so I taught Dominican back in 1985.
You
No
have to take a
way.
Yeah, I
minimum
guess
of
three
3
a
a
game.
game.
Been that long.
For
And
games
so
you play.
I've asked him about getting an intern
Yeah.
That would be.
because, you know, to help me with the
Yeah.
show. So hopefully we'll be able to.
Hopefully get back. Yeah, they've got.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you guys ever get a chance to check out Penguin Radio, the guys on there, they're so great. They're
cool.
so
Now they've got
awesome.
this
They're
spread on the floor.
Soren and
Two other girls, 3 other girls.
Forrest. Yeah, Soren and Forrest. They're great. They're so if you guys are, I know, if you guys are looking
Take care of the ball
for
well.
people to come on and help, they're always.
They scored 95 the other night.
Oh, we can get them on us, yeah.
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 Oh, they'll be great.
Yeah, yeah.
They're super
Yeah.
great. But yeah.
They do play by play.
Probably
They
be
do
harder
a lot,
from
so they do
here on
every
out.
show.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
do
yeah.
women's
Yeah.
basketball. I've never been able to hear them. I've been on their show a few times. They've had me on it.
I have to
but-
mention hosting.
Yeah, no, it's good
Wow.
stuff.
They start next week
Yeah,
from.
you